Hi, everyone. Welcome to Holland America's On Stage Alaska, hosted with AAA. Thank you so much for joining me today. Let's go ahead and get started. I'll be your host for today. My name is Kaylee, and first, I want to let you know that Holland America is a leader in glaciers, wildlife, and wilderness. We know that these three elements are really important to our guests. These are three of the four top reasons that anyone says they come to Alaska. And so we've made it a point to bring these elements to the forefront of your journey in a way that no other cruise line can match. And the way that we do this is with our experience. We have been taking guests to Alaska for over 75 years. We're actually coming up on 80 years very soon. So we have learned a lot about what our guests are hoping to see, how to help them see it, how to get them there, about the logistics of traveling in a place so far north and remote and seasonal as Alaska. We truly have the experience that no other cruise line has. And that is why we are known as the Alaska experts. So I am your Alaska expert today. As I said, my name is Kaylee. I am calling you today from Anchorage, Alaska. And just a little bit about me before I really dive in. I started coming to Alaska in 2015, really honestly on a whim. I had Googled tourism jobs in Alaska, and lucky for me, the first job that came up was in Fairbanks, and that is where I started my time with Holland America Line. So I worked at one of our lodges in the interior, then I transitioned to working as a tour director with Holland America. Now, that is one of the best jobs in the world. As a tour director, I got to escort Holland America guests all throughout the interior of Alaska and the Yukon as they worked their way through the Great North with us. So we went to all these different places that I'll be talking about today: Anchorage, Denali, Fairbanks, into the Yukon, into Dawson and Whitehorse and Skagway. So that's where I really fell in love with this place. And I did that seasonally for several years. And about 5 years ago, I decided to move here full time. So I could definitely try to sell you on Alaska winter, but I'm going to do something a little bit easier, which is talk about our cruising season, which runs from about May into September. Now, for those of you who have already cruised with Holland America, maybe you can just skip over this part, but I do want to say thank you to all of you who have been on board with us. Thank you to our mariners. But for those of you who haven't cruised with us, or maybe it's been a little while, I just want to give you a refresher on what you can expect when you're traveling with Holland America. We are known for being a mid-size cruise line. That doesn't really have a strict definition, but for us, it means that our ships are perfectly sized and perfectly designed for Alaska cruising. When you're cruising in Alaska, this is scenic cruising. That's why it's one of the best cruises in the world, because you have the coast of Alaska on one side, thousands of barrier islands on the other side. It doesn't matter which side of the ship you are on, there's always this varied scenery. And with our ship design, there are several different areas for our guests to get outside and have that personal experience. Plenty of room at the railing. They're uncrowded, but we still have all the amenities that larger ships can offer. I'm going to skip over the destination dining. We'll talk about that more momentarily, but I do want to give a call out to our award-winning service. Our staff on board is completely unrivaled. If you talk to anyone who has cruised on Holland America, they will be able to tell you about their stateroom attendant who remembered their preferences, or how when they went to the dining room after the very first night, the staff remembered their name. Our service is absolutely world class. And you can know that anytime you're traveling with Holland America, you will be traveling in comfort and with the welcoming hospitality that we always offer. And as far as our entertainment, we've been known for a while for our entertainment, and I'm really excited to say that Holland America recently announced we're making some tweaks and changes to our onboard programming. So we generally have live music on board. Depending on which ship you're on, you might be able to see the BB King's Blues Club rocking at night, or the Rolling Stone Rock Lounge live music. We also have several different stages where you might be able to see, song and dance, or a comedian, something that we have scheduled throughout the cruise. But we've recently made some changes, and now on board some of our ships, we've already started rolling out that we're bringing back live classical music with a band called Vivace. We've also got our own band that we're introducing called the Dam Band, because all of our ships are some sort of dam, the Noordam, the New Amsterdam. And the other exciting part about this for me is that we'll be featuring regional soloists. So for example, if you're cruising to the Caribbean, you can expect maybe someone who's playing steel drums, versus if you're headed to Alaska. They mentioned Alaska, we might be having a folk guitarist, which is such a good vibe for Alaska, campfire songs. Now, as far as traveling with Holland America in Alaska, we have many things that set us apart, and that's what the majority of this webinar is going to be. But just to give you a little taste, Holland America is the #1 cruise line in Alaska wildlife and wilderness tours. We have over 175 different excursions and inclusions that will get you to see the wildlife. I was going to say get up close and personal, but it'll be safe with the wildlife, because we know that this is really important to our guests. And so from what we have already built into the itineraries to also what you can choose to add as far as shore excursions or land excursions, so many wildlife opportunities available. Two more things that I want to call out on this slide. We have our very own glacier guarantee. So if you don't see a glacier while you're cruising with us, we will give you some of your cruise fare back in the form of a future cruise credit, because we're so confident that you will have that glacier experience with us. We are also known for having more time on land than any other cruise line, and this one is really important to me as I'm a land lover. I started in the interior here. But we offer up to 3 nights in Denali National Park and Preserve. That's longer than any other cruise line here. And we also go into the Yukon territory of Canada. We are the only major cruise line that takes our own guests into the Yukon. So if you are interested in seeing the interior, we are definitely your cruise line. And also for cruising, which we'll talk about in a little bit. To answer a couple of the most frequently asked questions before I get too far into things, the first question that I want to answer: how great is the Great Land? Or how large is it? How big is Alaska? And really, it's the superlative of any size comparison you can come up with. It's bigger than the state of California and Montana and Texas all combined. But the real thing that I want to point out here is, yes, Alaska is enormous, and there's quite a small road system here. The vast majority of Alaska is unpopulated by humans. We have a population of less than 1 million people, around 750,000, and most of those people live down in the Anchorage area, which is where I live. And so about half of that is then dispersed across the entire rest of the state, all up through the interior and down through Southeast Alaska, which is where you cruise. That means that there is a lot of wilderness for you to experience. And it also means there's a lot of space, which is something so amazing. It's why people come up here. It's the far away kind of experience that they want to have, but it also means that if you can plan in a little extra time for your travel, that is something that I think would behoove you, so that you anytime you're traveling from point A to point B in Alaska, it's going to take a few hours in general. My dad loves Alaska. He's been up here to visit several times, and he always says that everything is at least 100 miles away, and he's not wrong. So if you can spend an extra night or two in Denali or in Dawson City, I recommend it to really take advantage of everything that we have to offer and still get lots of rest and enjoy your trip along the way. The next question that I always hear is, when is the best time to visit Alaska? And I don't have a best time. What I'll tell you is that I think the best time to visit Alaska is when you have the most time, because of what I just talked about, how large Alaska is. But if you're interested in hearing a little bit about the seasonality, many people know that our Alaska cruise season goes from May to September. Now, during that time, we see 3 seasons come and go very quickly. I'll talk a little bit about the benefits of spring and fall, because most people already know that for summer, right in the middle of our season, they have the chance to see the midnight sun. This is a beautiful time of year with everything fully in blossom. Yes, of course, summer is amazing, but there are definitely perks to spring and fall as well that are a little bit lesser known. So in the spring, that's from about the middle of May into the middle of June. We have a later spring here. I would say that some of the benefits of this are the extremes of the scenery. Like in the picture behind me, you still get to see those snow-capped mountains, but you'll also see that fresh spring green coming out, the chartreuse. This is also a good time to try to spot the wildlife babies, like the little moose calves or the little bear cubs, because they're real fresh in the springtime. Now, fall in Alaska sets in pretty early. It comes around almost at the beginning of August. We start to see some of the yellow in the leaves. The sun starts to actually set again this time of year, which at this point by August we'll have not seen stars for several months. But this is your opportunity. If you are hoping to see the northern lights, you'll want to look into probably mid-August into September. That would be your time. It's a gorgeous time of year. People are also wondering what type of animals they'll see, and we have all sorts of critters, large and small, but a lot of people are interested in the big ones. So I'll tell you about the big 5 land mammals that you'll see, or you have the chance to see, in the interior, which is bears, Dall sheep, moose, wolves, and caribou. And if you're cruising, you should keep your eyes out for the big 5 marine animals. So that's orcas, sea lions, sea otters, gray whales, and humpback whales. And I can tell you personally, if you are getting outside and walking around on the decks of the ship or getting outside during your cruise tour, you have a very good chance. Just keep your eyes peeled and hopefully you'll get to see some of these big creatures. Moving into the different ways that you can travel with Holland America, I'm going to break this down into all sorts of different shapes and sizes for you. To start with, I'll say that we have 2 ways to travel with us. That's cruises and cruise tours. You probably already know what a cruise is. You're on the ship, you get to sleep on board the ship, you visit these charming little port towns during the day. We'll talk more about the cruise options shortly. Now, the cruise tour, if this is an unfamiliar word to you, you're not alone, but a cruise tour is a combination vacation where you spend some amount of time cruising with us on the ship, and you spend some amount of time traveling on the land, also with us. We handle those logistics. So when you book a cruise tour, you are booking both land and cruise travel. A very important point I want to make about the cruise tours is that you get to decide if you are doing your land portion first or if you're doing your cruise portion first. And no, I don't have a recommendation. They are both good. Whatever fits into your schedule is my recommendation there. So to break this down even further, I've split it into 3 here. So on one side, we have our Alaska cruises. Then I've split the cruise tours into 2 different types, the Alaska and Denali cruise tours and the Alaska, Denali, and Yukon cruise tours. Follow me here. Within each of these 2 different types of cruise tours, there are many itineraries. So talk with your travel professional. That's what they're there for. They will help you understand what's included, where are these different itineraries going, how many nights are they spending there. But for our purposes right now, I'm breaking it into 2 and I will be abbreviating it. So let's just say Denali cruise tours and Yukon cruise tours. Something you should know is that the Yukon cruise tours pretty much completely encompass the Denali cruise tours. So follow me, we'll start with the cruises. And the cruises, no matter what, you're traveling with us at some point on a cruise. So this is a great place for us to start. As I mentioned before, we have award-winning service, but that's not the only area in which we've won awards. We've won awards about our programming, our entertainment, our itineraries. And many of these awards are really personal for us because they're chosen by guests. You know, they're not just awarded by some big brand name. Our guests love us. That's why we have such loyal mariners. Now, as far as itineraries go, we've got several choices. To start, we have many departures on our 7-day cruises. As far as itineraries go with 7-day cruises, we've got round trip out of Seattle on the Alaska Explorer, round trip out of Vancouver, British Columbia on the Alaska Inside Passage, and then we have one-way travel between Vancouver, BC and Whittier, Alaska. And Whittier is kind of also known as Anchorage because that's the big city near Whittier. So on that Glacier Discovery, you can go one-way northbound or one-way southbound, and then you're flying home from either end of that. These, we have departures all throughout the summer. So check with your travel agents and they can see which dates are still available for you. But if you're looking to have a specific, cabin type or a specific date, definitely sooner rather than later is a good time to talk to your travel professional about these. Something wonderful about our cruises is that on all of them, we have our glacier guarantee. So on any cruise you're going on with us, we say that if you don't have your glacier experience, if you don't get to see a glacier with us, we will refund part of your cruise fare in the form of a future cruise credit because we are so confident that you'll have that experience. Now, for those of you who are looking for a little bit longer on the Alaska cruises, we have options there as well. Maybe you've already cruised with us. Oh my gosh, I see so many returners in Alaska specifically, because it is one of those places that you can just visit over and over again. So if you're looking to have a longer experience, visit some of those less frequented ports like Valdez or Kodiak or Dutch Harbor or Nome. These are the ones for you. We've got a 14-day departure, an 18-day departure, and even a very special 28-day Arctic Circle solstice sailing. That is a tongue twister, but this is a really neat itinerary. And it centers around one rare experience, which is crossing the Arctic Circle on summer solstice, on my favorite holiday. And for those of you who are in tune, you'll know that the Arctic Circle is the point at which the sun does not set on summer solstice. So you'll have that distinguished honor of having crossed the Arctic Circle on summer solstice. But aside from that experience, which is very cool, it visits so many unique ports, places that if you weren't cruising, I think would be near impossible to visit. I mentioned that we've got glacier cruising included in every single itinerary. So some examples here, I'll talk about Glacier Bay National Park. That one's very special to us. We'll get to that in a moment. Also, Hubbard Glacier and College Fjord. Those are two glacier areas that are just sometimes built right in to our cruise itineraries, whereas some other ones here, Mendenhall Glacier, Tracy Arm, those are accessible by excursions. We have many ways to experience glaciers. And one of them is that while you're on board with us and we have that scenic day, we call it Glacier Day, and we pull out all the stops. Depending on where your glacier day is occurring, they all look a little bit different. But for example, if you're in Glacier Bay National Park, we bring park rangers on board and they do the narration, or we will bring an Alaska Native guide on board and they will give presentations, or they'll do the interpretation outside. We also do things all around the ship. If the weather permits, we'll open up the bow so that our guests can get out that frontward facing view as we're cruising right up to the glacier before the captain makes a 180, so everyone on this side of the ship can see, and then everyone on this side of the ship can see. There's really no bad spot on Glacier Day, but I do recommend getting outside. That is always my recommendation, to go have that glacier experience with the wind coming off the glacier and the sun shining off of the ice. And there's so much to see other than the glacier on Glacier Days. Look down in the water, go on our 3rd floor viewing deck. That is closer to the water. It gives you a great vantage point for seeing the marine wildlife. Sometimes there's seals and otters. I mean, I've seen hundreds of seals hauled out on the different chunks of ice that are floating. We also have photographers who are walking around on board this day, and just get your picture taken. Even if you don't want to purchase it later, there is something about those pictures that are just beautiful. I call it the glacier glow. We've got cozy blankets that are out on the lounge chairs. I could go on and on and on, but Glacier Day is always so much fun, and it's on every itinerary. And I said I would mention Glacier Bay specifically. So Glacier Bay is really special. It's a very well protected national park and preserve, which you need permits to access as a cruise line. And Holland America has more permits than any other cruise line to enter Glacier Bay and show our guests this region. And for you, that means that there are more itineraries to choose from with us that go to Glacier Bay National Park. And it really is, I mean, this is one of those places that you can't even believe it exists in the world. So while you can, try to see Glacier Bay National Park. This is one of the spots where we do bring park rangers on board. They bring their little stamp. We've got programming throughout the day. We spend about 8 hours cruising up and down into this area you see here on the map. And oftentimes at the mouth here of Glacier Bay, there are whale sightings. So always keep your eyes peeled on Glacier Day. Okay, I've got to keep moving along here. So to talk a little bit about our onboard programming, we have very Alaska-specific programming. That's what this little "We Love Alaska" symbol is in the corner. Specifically in Alaska, we have developed a lot of different talks that are given by the cruise and travel director. We have wildlife experts on board who can help with spotting wildlife. We have designated sessions, because you can't make wildlife just show up, but wildlife does have habits and they live in certain areas. So we've even incorporated that into our programming. Cruising with Holland America in Alaska is a totally immersive experience, including the dining. And I'm really proud to say that we were the first cruise line, and I think we're the only cruise line that is triple certified in the seafood that we serve on board. So all of our ships sailing to Alaska all summer long, if you are having fish on board with us, you can know that it is sustainably sourced. And if you're not a big fish eater, we've got other Alaska inspired food and beverage as well, everything from our blueberry desserts, because blueberries are big here, to our glacial ice cocktails, which have an already calved piece of glacier ice in the drinks. We really make the dining experience special. And I do also want to call out shore excursions. Shore excursions are a wonderful way to get closer to the land and the culture and the people. And because of our long history in the region, we have relationships with the best of the best vendors around. So anytime that you're choosing to do a shore excursion with us, you can know that it's going to be a top-notch experience, whether it's viewing the lumberjack show in Ketchikan or going bear viewing in Ketchikan or whale watching in Juneau. Shore excursions are a wonderful way to make memories. And I do want to do a little call out for our staterooms. We have a variety of stateroom categories, from interior rooms to suites. Talk to your travel professional and they can quote you what is available and help you find what's best for you. All right, moving into cruise tours. Okay, I've only got a little bit of time here, but I can do this. So cruise tours in general, there are a couple things that I want you to know. we handle the logistics for you. So we've already planned out where you're staying, how you're getting there. We have our own employees and infrastructure to make your trip totally seamless. I will say that cruise tours are accessible. I get that question a lot. So just let your travel professional know what kind of accommodations you're needing. Again, these can be land first or cruise first, and they're great for families because I've seen everyone from the 2-year-old to the 92-year-old celebrating birthdays. There are lots of ways to personalize cruise tours. Now, into the first category, we've got our Alaska and Denali cruise tour overview. The Alaska and Denali cruise tours are the ones that are always a 7-day cruise paired with a land portion that travels into the interior of Alaska, and it goes to Denali National Park and Preserve. You will stay in that area for anywhere between 1 and 3 nights and visit different little Alaskan towns along the way. So we've separated our cruise tours into a couple different categories. I want to call out these first 3 here. Those are all Denali cruise tours. All of those are 7-day cruise, plus they go to the interior and visit different spots. We'll talk about the Yukon one later. Now, moving into same chart, but different, using a chart like this can help you decide which cruise tour is going to fit you best. We have it broken down by different features that our guests might be interested in. For me, I like to look at the line that says how many nights in Denali, or why should I choose this cruise tour? And I want to call out one specific category here. It's the third one, the ultimate Alaska and Denali itineraries. These are all 7-day cruise paired with 7-day land. So they've got that nice balance. And these all visit a different spot on the Kenai Peninsula, which is known as Alaska's playground. This is kind of the locals' favorite choice. And we actually just announced that next year in 2026, we are going to be including a stop at the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center on all of these. And we are including a tour director. So we are enhancing the ultimate Alaska and Denali itineraries greatly. Talk to your travel professional if you are interested in seeing some of that lush rainforest, Kenai Peninsula beauty, as well as visiting the wildlife at a conservation center, as well as having the extra special touch of somebody from Holland America who's guiding your way on the land. Now, in general, the Denali cruise tours, as I mentioned, 7-day cruise, traveling into Denali, you are traveling in a range of different ways. You might be traveling on a motor coach. You'll definitely be traveling on a train at some point. But the reason we have to travel is because Denali National Park is located a couple hundred miles into the interior of Alaska. And unlike many national parks, Denali only has one road that the public can drive into the park. And actually that road only goes about, for the public, you can only go about 16 miles in. And then after that, you have to be on a Denali National Park guided tour. And so this is something we've learned over the years, is that our guests really want to have plenty of time in the park. And so we have included a national park tour for all of our guests, whether you're staying with us for 1 night and you're going on the Denali Natural History Tour, or you're staying 2 or 3 nights, you'll be going on that Tundra Wilderness Tour. As you're traveling between Anchorage and Denali, you'll be traveling on Holland America's exclusive McKinley Explorer train cars. These are all double-decker cars. Everyone's sitting on that top story. As I mentioned, our transportation is accessible. So if you need a lift, make sure that you let your travel professional know that so we can get you on the right car. And then on the first story of all of these cars, we have a full service breakfast and lunch dining area where you can choose to purchase breakfast or lunch. And we also have a bartender who rides up top. They will keep you hydrated throughout the day. We've got a rail guide on board who narrates and provides local insights and will point if Denali, the mountain, happens to be out. This is a full day on the train, and it is definitely a guest favorite day. Now, where you're staying with us is the Holland America Denali Lodge, and this is a gorgeous 60+ acre campus literally right on the boundary of the national park. To get to that one road, it is a little bit over a mile. We have shuttles if you want to go back after your park tour, but the back boundary of this property is the glacially fed Nenana River. Right on the other side of that, all those mountains you're seeing there, that is within the bounds of Denali National Park. It's an amazing property with so much happening here all throughout the day and night. This area that I'm showing now is called Denali Square, and this is really the gathering hub where we have our restaurant, Karsten's Public House. We've got an artist in residence studio. We've got a couple little shops here, and every night, live music. I do want to mention that in Denali is the only place that you have the chance to upgrade your stay while you're on the land. So when you're on board, you can choose, what type of stateroom category do you get. When you're traveling on the land with us, we will assign you to hotel rooms. But in Denali, you can choose to upgrade to a Denali suite. So if you're interested in having a newly renovated, newly appointed stateroom, room that has its own little exterior space. That's the real selling point for me. All of the Denali suites have their own little terrace or balcony that looks out into the park. Then talk to your travel professional, because this is something that does have to be done in advance. I also want to mention that meals are not included on the land portion. We do offer meal plans if that's something that you're interested in. We've got a variety of those. We've got breakfast only, breakfast and dinner. We've got Denali only meal plans. Lots of choices here. I can say that it really depends on your eating habits and the people that you're traveling with. These are a great value for what you're receiving. If you are kind of a bird-like eater and you don't eat very much, then maybe this isn't the choice for you. But there are many, many options both on property as you go throughout your land tour and off property. So you'll never go hungry. I do also want to call out that we are doing some big enhancements to our Holland America Denali Lodge over the next few years. We already started implementing them. This year, we kind of widened out the Riverside Trail where our guests can go on a nice quiet walk. We added some interpretive signage, redid some of the guest public areas to make them a little cozier. And as we're looking into 2026 and 2027, we have some bigger changes coming, like new guest room buildings, expanded seating at our restaurant, and maybe even some renovations to the main lodge area. And I already mentioned that all of our guests staying with us in Denali will be going on their national park tour. And if you can, save some time for excursions. There are so many available, a variety of activity levels, everything from photography classes to whitewater rafting. And finally, we have come to the Alaska, Denali, and Yukon cruise tours. These are my favorite. I'm not going to try to hide it, although I am totally biased because on all of these, the Yukon cruise tours, we include a tour director. And that's what I said. I worked as a tour director for several years, and that's what we're including on the ultimate Denali and Alaska itineraries and on every single one of the Yukon cruise tour itineraries. And part of the reason we do this is because when you're traveling with us through Alaska and through the Yukon, that is a long way. So we've got this one person who travels with you every single step of the way, just making everything even easier for you. I love these itineraries also because if maybe you're a big cruiser and you want to do a full 7-day cruise and land travel, great, you can do that. Or you can opt for the 3 or 4-day cruise with these itineraries. And Skagway will end up being your embarkation or disembarkation point, and that's where you'll join us on the land, or that's where you'll get on your cruise ship. So just depending on how much time you have, what your preferences are of where you're traveling and how you're traveling, these can be a really good fit. Also, if you are interested in history, these are probably the best option because we will be following on most of these itineraries the path of the 1898 Klondike Gold Rush. The path that's outlined here between Skagway and Dawson City is where the Stampeders were traveling in those gold rush years. Now today it's obviously much easier, but there is still a lot of that gold rush charm. There's a picture down in the corner there of historic Dawson City, you know, it's all black and white. Well, here's a picture of Dawson City today, and save the RVs and the little cars that you can see in there, it does not look that much different. Dawson City developed into a boom town during the gold rush, and today it's much quieter. It's down to around 800 people. It's only about 8 blocks wide, very small, quiet area. It just feels like stepping back in time. And if we zoom in here on one of those buildings, that is our Holland America Dawson City Inn, where our guests will be staying. And being here in Dawson is just always a treat. The staff here is incredible. Just the entire ambiance is hard to describe. This is one of the places that my guests, as we would travel together, I think they didn't expect to love Dawson City so much, but this is where you would see the real change happen. All of our itineraries spend 2 nights here in 2026, and that was because of our guest feedback. They wanted more time in Dawson to enjoy the unpaved streets and the wooden boardwalks. And it doesn't feel like a hokey gold rush town because it is authentic. This is still a gold mining town. Gold is the biggest industry in Dawson City today. And something that we now are including on all of our Yukon itineraries is an excursion for all of our guests to go visit Gold Dredge number 4. This is a historic site. You get to go visit Bonanza Creek, the site of the discovery claim where that started the whole gold rush, and you'll get to learn all about mining and the area before gold miners arrived, and get to see an actual gold dredge, which is pictured here. And we build that into all of the Yukon itineraries again. I also want to call out one more spot, Skagway, Alaska. Skagway, you may have heard of it as a cruise port because many different cruise ships do visit Skagway as a cruise port. Now, so do we. And if you're doing the 7-day cruise, that could be one of the stops that you make. But on our Yukon and Denali cruise tours, you actually have the opportunity to stay overnight in Skagway, which, as far as I know, we're the only cruise line that offers that at all. We have our own hotel, the Holland America Skagway Inn, and to see those cruise ships leave at night and then you are left in this little mountain town on the coast is such a unique experience. And I want to mention the White Pass and Yukon Route Railroad. This is a world-class excursion. It's been rated #1 on Cruise Critic, and you can take this excursion with us if you're visiting for the day, and we build this into some of the Yukon itineraries. So you might even have 2 trains on your itinerary. So I think I covered all these highlights of your Yukon experience, and that brings us to the end of our time together. So thank you so much. There are so many reasons to visit Alaska. There are an abundance of reasons to visit Alaska with Holland America. Talk to your travel advisor about what's important to you. That's what they're there for. They're going to listen. They're going to help you customize your itinerary with what's already included versus what would you like to add on. What time of year are you looking at? What time frame, what budget are you working within? They will help you to build that perfect Alaska vacation with us. They will also help you with the different promotions that are available. And that is something that changes from time to time. So definitely talk to them about that. So I want to say thank you to everyone for joining me today. I hope you are as excited as I am about the incredible adventures that we offer. And I look forward to hosting you in Alaska soon.